Welcome to Crossroads Gentle Mindful Yoga. I'm going to invite you to come onto your yoga mat in a seated cross-legged position. You can put a pillow under your bum if that's more comfortable. Sometimes it's helpful to lift your pelvis slightly above your knees. So if your knees are up high, you may want to support them with a pillow or blocks underneath the knees. Just kind of find a way that you can be here in this moment. It's reasonably comfortable for the body. Invite the eyes to close. Feel yourself dropping into your yoga practice. Allow yourself to land here in this moment. And if you wish, set an intention for your yoga practice today. Just see if anything emerges for you. And then allowing the breath to deepen. Feeling the breath come in through the nostrils. And then expanding through the belly and the ribs right up to the top of the lungs. Full breath. And as you exhale, feel the lungs contract, the ribs and the belly button against the spine as the air comes out the nostrils. Breathing in, breathing out. And then dropping the chin to the chest. Just letting yourself fall forward, keeping the shoulders down. And then bring the chin up to the right shoulder. And then dropping down to the center again, keeping the chin close to the chest, and then rising up to the left shoulder. And then just moving back and forth in this way. Slowly. And if one area calls to you to stay a little bit longer, to hold, listening, as always in yoga, to your own inner guides, to your own body, to your own mind. And then one more each way. And then pausing in center with the chin to the chest. Bringing the shoulder blades towards each other, dropping the shoulders. And then slowly raising the head back up. And then dropping the right ear to the right shoulder. Pressing down with the left shoulder. And if it feels right for you, bringing the arm up and letting it just settle on the ear. Not pushing down, just allowing the weight to create more space. And then maybe bringing that left hand down, pressing down towards the earth. Opening with a softness. And then you can stay here with the left arm, or you can bring it up the back, center of the back. And if you did bring it up the back, dropping it back down beside the hip, releasing the arm and coming back to center. And just closing the eyes for a moment. And then dropping the left ear to the left shoulder. Bringing the right hand down beside the hip. And then if it fits, bringing the left hand up and letting the weight of the arm create openness. And then if you wish, you can bring that right arm up behind the middle of the back and reaching up. One more breath here. And then slowly releasing the arms, coming back into center and pausing again, just noticing. And bringing the soles of the feet together, and then move the legs out a little bit so you're in a diamond shape here. And then clasping on the thighs, or the knees, or the shins, lengthening through the back, and then beginning to fold forward, bringing the nose toward the feet into turtle. One more breath here. And then slowly coming back up to seated. Opening the legs wide. And then flex the feet, bringing the toes in towards the knees, pressing down. And then find the right distance for you. So you don't want to be so wide that you're strained through the hips or the knees. You want to just find the right openness so you can just feel a little bit of it. And then bring the hands in front of you. And maybe this is just the right place for you. Or maybe you want to move down, move forward a little bit more. Keep listening, tuning in, dropping in. Maybe the eyes close. If you find yourself folding forward with a rounded back, that might be your preference. Or maybe you want to lengthen the back, drop the shoulders, coming back up a little bit, and then folding forward with a straight back. Maybe trying both. Noticing a difference, a preference, what fits for this body energy today. And one more breath. And slowly walking back up. And then inviting the right leg to come to the inside of the left leg. So the left leg is still wide open, but the one leg is tucked in. You're going to bring the arm to the inside of the left leg and begin to slide down, perhaps landing right here at the thigh, or maybe the elbow comes down and reaches out. You want to bring the elbow with the bent arm against the inside of the leg, wherever that lands. And then inviting the opposite arm to rise up and inviting the shoulders to stack and the top arm to come across the ear as you reach for the toes, which are flexed. And then maybe you also want to add looking up under the armpit to the sky. And then soften with your breath, remembering your intention and being here if one came for you. And then releasing this and bringing the top arm up and having it land by the hip, and then bringing the left arm to the same hip, and then coming up on the knee. So the hand, the knee, and the foot are all aligned, and you're up on the right knee. And the left hand is on the hip, but you can rise, bring that up across the ear, reaching out. So from the tips of the toes all the way across, opening that side body. And let your breath create an openness in your mind and spirit. And then slowly hand comes back to hip, dropping back down. And pausing here for a moment before we move to the other side. Just pausing with eyes closed. And then opening up the opposite leg. And then bringing this leg back in so that the foot is close in the thigh, the heel close to the groin. And then if this knee, there's any strain, put a pillow under it. And then bringing the same arm as the same leg. This foot is flexed. And beginning to slide down, finding your edge gently wherever this arm lands. And then this hand can come on the hip, or you can bring this arm across the ear. And then maybe you keep your eyes level and looking ahead, or maybe you begin to look up under the armpit. Wherever you are landing, being here. And then releasing the top arm and bringing it flat kind of beside you so that the hand, the hip, and the leg are all aligned. And then coming up onto that knee and readjusting your foundation so you're solid. And then maybe this hand stays on the hip, or maybe rises up. Once again, opening that whole side body, toe to fingertip. Feel that opening. Let the breath open like a flower. Leg, hip, ribs, armpit, all the way up to the fingertip. And then releasing, dropping back down, releasing the legs, and pausing, eyes closed. And then bringing hands beside hips and maybe slightly behind, and bringing feet to standing with knees bent. And then rocking knees side to side. And one more each way. And then back to center. And in case you haven't guessed yet, today's theme is about opening. So I'm going to invite us to do a little bit more opening of the hips. So bring up the left leg into your hand. So one hand under the foot and one hand under the knee. And just kind of have a sense of getting stable and long in the spine and stable on the sits bones. And then this leg might just stay right here, or this foot could come up into the crook of the arm if the hip allows. So you're going to invite the leg to come towards the torso. Perhaps the hands reach, or it might stay here. Just finding your gentle edge. And then as though you're rocking a little baby, closing the eyes and just rocking that leg back and forth. You can feel imagine your awareness sitting right into the hip. And to start with, we're going to rock, and then we're going to add circles. So using the hands, begin to do slow round circles, maybe keeping eyes closed, tuning into the hip, opening, softening. And then changing direction. Keeping tuned in with the breath. And one more circle here. And then pausing for several more breaths with the leg held closely to the chest. And then releasing that leg back down. And then shifting to the opposite leg, creating a stable foundation for yourself. And whether the foot and the knee, kind of creating a support for them. And pausing first to open the hip. And then beginning those slow circles, long spine. Changing direction of circles. One more here. And then just invite this leg to come over the other leg and just kind of adjust yourself so that the heel of the opposite foot comes back towards the buttocks, and see if it'll stand and if both sits bones will stay on the ground. If you come into this position and sits bones are not on the ground, then you're going to straighten this other leg out. Just kind of suss it out for yourself. Just take a moment or so and settle into your foundation. Try the leg straight out, and then try the leg tucked in. What we're aiming for here is both sits bones on the ground here. And that can change from leg length as well as hip opening. There's lots of things that can happen here. So just find what's right for you. So your front foot is flat on the ground and your leg is either tucked under or straight out. Clasping the knee or the shin lengthens through the spine again. You have a sense of your breath opening. And then you're going to use the opposite arm from the bent knee to clasp. You're going to begin to turn in our spinal twist. Your belly, if your belly's a little round, it may need some help around the thigh, and you're beginning to turn hips, belly, ribs, shoulders, and then head at the very last. And then as you inhale, lengthen through the spine, and as you exhale, turn tiny micro movements, and then soften and hold, perhaps closing the eyes. Your strain in the body, allow softness as best you can. And then slowly slowly coming back to center. Now, if this top leg will kind of land on top of the other leg so that the knees are more or less stacked on top of each other, try that. This is called heroes, or since we're women here, heroes position. So just kind of have a sense, is this possible for me with my hips, with my knees? If not, please move into a cross-legged position. However, if it is, just kind of settle here for a moment or so. And then raise the same arm as the leg that's on top up to the sky. And then drop it behind with the palm of the hand on the upper back, maybe helping that arm over a little bit. And opposite arm, reach it up and around behind. So I'll show for those who weren't clear. So you're reaching, your hands might touch together, mine don't. I'm just pausing here. And then one more breath. And then reaching, releasing, coming back to center. Releasing legs, bringing feet to standing. Holding hands under thighs. Raising legs off the ground. You can stay right here. I'm very aware of lower back and any strain, but if it feels all right, bringing hands down beside calves and maybe straightening legs a little bit. And then releasing. And then the opposite leg goes on top. I'm just kind of seeing how that is for you. And then bringing that top leg to standing. And once again, like we did on the spinal twist on the other side, you're going to see, does this leg stay tucked in? Are both sits bones on the ground? Do you feel steady and not strained in the joints or the knee? And if not, straighten this lower leg out. But if it feels okay, sustain this clasping the shin and the knee, and then lengthening through the torso and bringing the thigh and the torso toward each other. And then preparing for the spinal twist, the opposite hand of the leg that's crossed. And then once again, helping belly if there's roundness, and beginning to turn hips, belly, ribs, shoulders, and then neck at the end, finding the right position for that arm so that you feel supported. Come into stillness here. One more breath before slowly coming back to center. And then once again, inviting the position with both knees on top of each other, or shifting into cross-legged if that feels more supportive for your body today. And then the same arm, that the leg on top, invite the same arm as that to come up and bring the elbow behind, the arm reaching down, the palm of the hand on the back, and then reaching around with the other arm, inviting eyes to close. And then one more breath here. And then slowly release. Bringing feet back to standing. Knees up, and then once again, windshield the legs back and forth. And one more each way. And then slowly coming to the hands and knees in table position. And I'm going to invite you to tuck the toes under here and just raise the knees and the shins slightly off the floor. And then drop back down. And then move your hands forward and move into downward dog, or you can always move into child or stay in table. If you come to downward dog, beginning to alternate heels towards the earth. And then pausing in stillness. And then bring the left foot in slightly towards the center. And anchor down into that foundation and raise the right leg up to the sky. And then bring the right heel towards the opposite buttock. And then bring that foot back down beside the left, the right foot. And then walk it forward between the hands. Coming down on the left knee with the right foot up between the hands and coming into a lunge. And then raise the spine up. Keeping the knee down and your right knee right over the right ankle. And then bring both hands to the inside, maybe wiggling, heel-toeing the right foot out a little bit toward the edge of the mat. And both hands are on the inside. And once again, coming up high. And then wiggling the foot back so hands come to either side. And then moving your buttocks back towards the heel, straightening that front leg. Lifting the toes off, but keeping the heel where it is. Straightening-ish that front leg and folding forward over the leg. Perhaps you're up on the left knee, or maybe you're sitting all the way back or partially back. Whatever fits for your body. And then bringing the front foot back down. And then that front foot comes back to join the back knee. And once again, you're in table here. And then moving into downward dog. Once more. Perhaps alternating the heels. And then moving towards stillness here. And then bringing the right foot in towards the center, stabilize your foundation, and then raise the left leg up, and the left heel comes towards the opposite buttock. And then bringing that foot back, and then walking in little steps or one big swing in between the hands, coming back onto the back knee. And then you're in your lunge. The front knee is over the ankle. You can come up on the fingertips and then lengthen through the spine as you drop through the groin. Maybe closing the eyes. And then wiggling that left foot out towards the edge of the mat, bringing both hands on the inside of the left leg. Lengthening up through the head once more. And then beginning to walk the hands back. Oh, the hand should be on either side of the front foot. Then walking the hands back and bringing the toe up, but keeping the heel where it is. And that front leg becomes straightish. And you fold forward over the outstretched leg. And then walking that foot back down, bringing the hands up on either side of the foot and come up onto the toes of the opposite foot. And then either with little steps or one big step, whatever suits you, bringing that back foot up beside the front foot. And coming into forward fold. Maybe you clasp the back of the calf, the back of the skull. And then slowly taking 2 or 3 breaths, sliding the hands up the legs and coming back up to standing. Inviting eyes to close. Coming into your Tadasana, your mountain pose. And then raising right arm up and leaning toward the left, dropping arm down and maybe turning the head and looking down at the opposite foot. And then inhale, shifting to opposite side. And coming back up to center and reaching both arms straight up and tucking chin and doing a slight cat tilt in the lower back. Inhale, reaching up while staying grounded with your feet open and rooted at the same moment. And then release the arms and bring the hands to the hips. And then bring the right foot back. Let it come to a 45-degree angle, or you can come up on the ball of the foot. We're going to be facing with our hips forward on our mat. So finding the right foundation for you. And then bending the front knee over the front ankle. Finding the right distance between the feet. The right foundation in the feet. And when you feel ready, raising arms up into Virabhadrasana 1. Thighs energetically are coming toward each other. Arms can be raised or they can stay on the hips. You can begin to move back a little bit, creating a curve in the spine if that feels right for you. And releasing the arms to the hips, straightening the front leg. And now keeping hands on hips, we're going to fold forward, bringing the torso flush or parallel to the ground. So adjust your distance between your legs and feel the solidness. And keeping the hips square and forward, begin to fold forward. The front leg stays straight. Back leg stays straight. At this point, you're aiming to be parallel with the earth, keeping the elbows and shoulder blades up. And then slowly coming back to standing. And then we have options with our arms at this point. So you can keep your hands on your hips if that feels right, or you can allow your hands to come down to straight. And as you fold forward, bringing the torso parallel to the earth, both legs straight, you can invite your arms to also be straight and then reach them up parallel to earth and then begin to raise them higher toward the sky. Shoulder blades coming together, staying parallel to earth. Bringing hands back to hips and then coming back to standing. And then turning to the long side of the mat, with the legs still wide, the toes slightly in. And then bringing hands to the tops of the thighs. Keeping the knees a little bit soft, slide down into a wide angle forward fold. Come down as far as body calls. And if you wish, you can either use blocks, or if your hands reach the ground, you can bring the hands down in between the feet. And then slowly keeping knees slightly bent, bringing hands back to shins and then sliding back up. Hands are on hips again. Now you're going to turn to the opposite side of the mat. And you're going to bring your feet once again like ski trails or train tracks, so they're hip distance apart or a little bit wider. And then find the right back. We're going to do Virabhadrasana 1 first. So your hips are facing the short end of the mat. They're square. Your back foot can either be at a 45-degree angle or something like that. And then you can bring your front knee over your ankle. I prefer to come up on the ball of my foot because my knees don't like that angle. So just find what's right for you here. And maybe keep your hands on your hips, or maybe raise your hands up overhead. Virabhadrasana 1. And then maybe leaning back, creating a curve in the spine. And releasing the arms back to the hips. And straightening both knees. And then as we prepare for that forward torso parallel to earth, get the legs and the feet in the right position so you feel solid. Hands are on hips. And we're going to begin once again to fold forward so that the torso is parallel. Hips are facing forward square, obviously, and just making sure your feet are the right distance, right foundation. Flattening the back, bringing the shoulder blades towards each other. If the elbows are dropping, bringing them up. And then coming back up to standing. And once again, having a choice. keeping hands on hips as we go forward, or dropping hands down. And as we fold forward, both front and back leg are straight, and then raising arms up to sky. Bringing hands back to hips and then standing. And then bringing back leg up beside front leg. And we're going to finish our standing asanas, our postures, with a weight on one leg. So bring a fullness of your weight on one leg, turning the sole of the foot so it comes on the ankle, perhaps with the toes still on the ground. So opening up hips. Hands are on hips. And then perhaps the toes stay on the ground here to give you some stability, or maybe raising the sole of the foot to the calf or the inside of the thigh. And then you can leave hands on hips or raise them up to the sky. Releasing hands to hips and release leg down. And then shifting to opposite leg, opening hip, sole of foot to inside of ankle, toes on ground. And then maybe staying here, or maybe raising foot to calf or thigh, not on the knee. And then if you wish, raising arms up. Releasing hands back down, releasing legs. And then shaking legs, shaking arms. And then slowly coming back to the front of your mat and sliding arms down, forward fold. Bringing hands to ground, and right foot comes back into lunge, knee comes down. And then bringing front knee back beside back knee, so you're back in table. And then come into plank here. You can stay on your hands, you can come onto your elbows. And then raising the torso up, or you can leave the knees down if that suits you better. And then coming on to your belly. Maybe bringing your hands up underneath and turning one cheek. And then bringing forehead to earth, hands coming under shoulders, elbows in close to ribs. Invite the toes to touch. Raising head up, keeping hands on the earth, no weight, just a light touch. And then forehead back down. And once again, rising up, no weight on the hands, feet pressed down. And then folding back down. Now I'm going to invite you to choose. You can come up into Sphinx, which is elbows underneath shoulders with hands reaching out. Or you can leave hands under shoulders and rise up into full cobra, keeping the pubic bone down. Yogi's choice. We're going to move from here right into child's pose. Toes touching, heels wide, forehead coming down to earth. And then slowly coming back up to seated. Legs stretched out. Hands come to thighs. Lengthen through the back and close the eyes. Begin to walk the hands down the legs, bringing the forehead and the nose down towards the legs, coming into forward fold. One more breath here, and then slowly coming back to seated. And then lying down on your mat with the knees to the chest, chin is tucked, rolling side to side. And then bringing the left foot to standing with the knee bent, and the right ankle comes across the left thigh, just below the knee. And maybe staying here, or bringing up the legs towards the chest and reaching through and clasping the shin or the back of the thigh. And then if you wish, the left ankle can go in circles here. Changing direction. One more circle. And coming into stillness. And bringing left foot back. Right foot comes to standing. And then the other side, left ankle along. Right thigh. Legs into chest, clasping thigh or shin. And then once you're settled, adding that circle of the right ankle if you wish. Changing direction. And then releasing foot back to ground. And then dropping legs together so that left thigh presses against the right and bringing hands out into T. Maybe shifting the hips a bit towards the left and then dropping the knees toward the right. And then maybe looking over that left arm. And then 3 more breaths here. And then as you're ready, coming back to center, adjusting your hips on the mat. And then crossing the right leg over the left. Hips coming a bit to the right. And then dropping the hips to the left and looking over the right shoulder, adjusting the shoulder blades. And then 3 more breaths right here. And then slowly, slowly coming back to center. And seeing if there's anything else needed before we move into Shavasana. Maybe legs into chest, or a breath or two of happy baby, with soles to the sky, hands to the feet. And then as you're ready, coming into Shavasana, legs stretched out, palms up to sky, palms 6 to 8 inches out from the hips. And remembering your intention. We're going to breathe out of our mouth for several breaths. So breathing full breath in, and then opening the mouth. And again, breathing in. And then coming into stillness here in your Shavasana. Allowing the entire body to completely relax. The feet, the ankles, the legs. Each bone, each muscle surrenders and softens. The hips, the pelvis, the entire spine and back opened and moved, relaxed. The belly and all the organs, the ribs, the lungs and heart, the arms, the whole body heavy, surrendered to gravity. The neck and the throat and the jaws soft, tongue heavy, sliding up through the cheekbones and the nose to the eyeballs, letting them soften a little bit more in the eye sockets, across the forehead and the scalp, the whole body, every bone, every muscle, every tendon, all the fascia, every cell in the body completely relaxed right here. Coming into stillness for the last moment or so. And then taking several more breaths. Maybe stretching the body, moving the arms, the hands, the wrists in circles, perhaps the ankles in circles. Maybe the arms come up overhead and you reach the body. And then as you're ready, turning onto your side body and pausing there for a breath or two. And then as you're ready, coming back to seated. Hands in namaste before the heart, eyes closed. Bowing first to your own inner light, to your yoga practice, to what you brought today for yourself, to how you show up, to celebrate that with openness. And then bowing to each other. Thank you for sharing this yoga practice. And then to any higher power or spirit of your desire. And then I have a reading for you from Anais Nin. It's called The Risk to Bloom. And then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk to bloom. Thank you for joining me for Crossroads Gentle Mindful Yoga.